Hey everyone, and welcome to Stitchwyck Creations. This year's Christmas collab is a big one. This year's grand Christmas collab is the 12 Days of Christmas. We have Lemon Kitten making a partridge in a pear tree, BonnieWeeDolls making Two Turtledoves, Lucia's Strange Universe making 3 French Hens, myself making 4 Collie birds, Heliophobiant dolls making 5 golden rings, Cutencursed making 6 geese a laying, SilverGryphon making 7 swans swimming, BumbleCrafty making 8 maids a milking, The Witchcrafting making 9 ladies dancing, Imagination Dream Studios making 10 lords leaping, Heliophobiant dolls making 11 pipers piping, and Diamondza craft making 12 drummers drumming. God, that's a lot. Anyway, it's that time of year. We're covered in glitter, we're covered in sparkle, and here is the making of 4 Collie birds doll. On top of our 12 Days of Christmas theme, I also decided that we should try for 1930s Hollywood glamour. Here we have the headless headmistress. So easy to take the heads off, it's brilliant. I'm going to use her for my base, so we're going to strip her down and get her prepared. Now she's all naked, we can strip her hair off. This stuff is quite gooey and full of glue. This stuff held its shape because of all of the ick. Time for a steam bath in some boiling water. We're just gonna poke her in with those trusty forceps. After boiling for a minute or so, we can fish her out, empty as much of the water as we can, and use a towel to hold on and scrape out those hair plugs. This was a complete sensory nightmare because they were so icky. I think this is possibly the gooeyest brain nugget I've had in quite a while. Maybe in possibly all of the dolls. On to prepping. We are cleaning her face off with 100% acetone. I always like to try and get the eye off in one swipe. Just like that. I love the sculpt for the headmistress. She's got amazing cheekbones. She's quite similar to Spectra, I think, but in a more of a fleshy tone. But look at those gorgeous cheekbones and those big full lips and that nose. Gorgeous. I'm going to be using yarn for this one, and I'm going to be using the process that Mr. Super Customs uses, which is to just pull the hair apart because you get the best length that you can, and then plug it like normal. I'm going to start off with the hairline at the front, and then I'm going to add the parting in before I forget where I want it. I'm going to put the parting in just here, and she can have a nice side parting, and we'll fill her up so it's nice and swooshy and poofy like they had in the 1930s. Using my mini straighteners, I'm just going to go and straighten as I go because it's going to make it a lot easier to manage because this stuff was so staticky. And just like that, we have a full head of hair. Now to bundle her up. Now her hair is protected, we can give her a good coating of Mr. Super Clear. I'm using Hedy Lamarr as a inspiration for this. I'm going to try and emulate this look. Beautiful lady she was. Hedy Lamarr was not just an actress and a beautiful woman, she invented many things. She also pioneered the technology that would one day form the basis for today's Wi-Fi, GPS and Bluetooth communications. But back to her face. So I've drawn on with a light pencil a shape I want her eyes to be, and I shall fill in the whites of her eye with a nice, good pigmented pencil. Just need to make sure her pupils line up so she's looking in the same direction with both eyes, and then I can start doing things like eyebrows and shading. To complement her colour scheme, I'm going to give her some nice red lips. Now Hedy's known for her dark, deep, sultry looks, so no smiling for this lady. I'm going to use my lash spoolie to get into the crevices of these eyes. She's got some moulded on eyelids, so I want to try and accentuate those because she's got some deep set eyes. I'm using a scalpel blade to sharpen the pencils because the creases in the eyes are that deep that the pencil wasn't sharp enough to get in there without leaving a line. So we're just making sure that we can get all the way in there. Let's bring out those cheekbones a little more. She's got some cracking cheekbones. And then a little bit of blush. Just using a kneaded eraser to pick up some dust that had flown off some other bits of the pastels that shouldn't go there, but we'll tidy that up. That's all fine, nothing to see. Give her some nice black liner and make those eyes pop. Also going to add some false lashes. Don't often do that on dolls, but I think she needs them. I'm going to keep building up the colour on these lips. I've gone for a deeper, darker red. And I'm going to use the same thing, sharpening the pencil so it's a wedge, so I can get right into that lip crease because it's quite a deep lip. I'm just blending the two colours together with a drop of water on a tiny brush. I can also push that colour into that lip crease because that pencil, it doesn't matter how thin I can get it, doesn't quite get in there without snapping the end off. Second layer of MSC, and we're just back to building up the colours. So I'm just adding more colours and more depth. It's like Photoshop, setting up a new layer and going over the work. And if I make a mess on this one, I can just use some water to wipe it off. I have brown eyes and I like doing brown eyes, but trying to get a bit of definition in the iris is difficult sometimes, so I like to go back and forth with different browns and try and put some definition in there. It's very hard to see on this, but it's there, I promise. In the 20s and 30s, pencil thin eyebrows were a thing, but I still want to try and include some tiny hairs in there, so it's... you can't really see it on here, but there are tiny hairs on each of those eyebrows. Well, I'm happy with that. Let's seal it off with a final layer of Mr. Super Clear. I'm just using a pin and some UV resin, putting it over the eyes so they're nice and glossy and they'll pick up the light from wherever the light is shining. I also think she possibly looks a bit like Erin Parsons, the makeup artist. I shall tag her in the video and see what she thinks. I used a pattern from DG Requiem Arts, and with the Big Sister dolls, please use the 125% version because the other ones were a bit short and a bit risque. Just going to use some fast tack glue to glue down the edges because my machine kept eating the edges and I didn't have time for that, so we're just going to glue it down. All the fiddly bits were done and hand sewn off camera because I'm old and my eyes are failing and I was sewing black on black and it was difficult. I needed to get up close, so all you'd have seen was the back of my head, so apologies for that. I'm going to add some glitz to this bra by adding some beads, just putting 10 beads on the thread, getting a nice big bead to dangle at the bottom, and then sewing back up through the beads so that they can hang and dangle like tassels. I did this as well on my snake charmer doll. Once I've sewn that back up, I go across a little bit, do the same again and make another tassel. And once that's done, I can sew that back up and move across and do it again and again and again until all the front is covered in little beady tassely things. Right, I love it. I'm just going to put something on the back to hold it together. Put some more sparkly things on it because it's just not too jazzly enough. I've got some clear press studs to put here and here, and then I've got some Velcro for the pants so her bum doesn't hang out like it is now. Using some fast tack glue again, just dotting it on with a little silicone tool, and then using some flat backed rhinestones, sticking on some black flat backed rhinestones to it. I love the headmistress's boots, but I need shoes, and it hurt to do this because they're such gorgeous boots. But there are no small dainty shoes for the big sister dolls, and I did not have the time, patience nor energy to make my own shoes for the doll. So here we go, we're cutting them down, and we didn't cut our fingers. Everything was successful, but I still hurt deeply inside cutting them. It didn't get any easier with boot 2. We'll cut that one down as well. Oof. They're beautiful stiletto shoes, but they're not glamorous enough, so we're going to cover them in black glitter, which, shouldn't work because it's black, but it does. It's lovely. We're going to give them a coat of fast tack glue again, nice and sticky, and then we're going to cover them in glitter. All the glitter! We also had a clever moment and thought maybe we should put something underneath it to collect the glitter. Well done, brain. You had the thought and it worked. Her shorts also need jazzing up, so we're going to put her in a compromising position and glue some rhinestones onto her shorts too. So because the outfit is saying showgirl but not calling birds or collie birds as they were, we're going to make her a cape with feathers like wings. We're going to use this gauzy fabric and we're going to cut it into a semicircle and turn it into a capelet thing. Because this fabric frays like an absolute what's-it, I'm going to be using this hot soldering iron to seal the edges. Don't do what I do it sensibly. Do it a bit at a time and slowly, because then you don't take big chunks of it out of it. But as you drag it across, it heats it and melts it. To attach the cape, I'm using some foam to make a collar. I shall be using the foam to make a template for some warbler. Once I've got the shape I'm happy with, I shall trace it onto the warbler and then heat it up and mould it to the body. Once it's cooled off, I can take it off and put it back on again. You can see how it fits and it is lovely and snug. It's a bit of an odd shape, but we're going to go with this. It's going to stick the capelet onto the inside of it with some more fast tack glue and leave that to dry. Just using the silicone tool to push the glue through the fabric and making sure it adheres properly. It was a bit of a faff recording this, so this is the end result. I've got some feathers on some ribbon and I've just stuck them down onto the neck, and it's made a very glamorous collar. We're sewing some ribbon to the ends to go around the wrist, and once those are sewn on, we're going to sew some marabou feathers along the edge. You don't need to sew the marabou all the way around, you just need to tack it at intervals so it doesn't bunch up. And here it is, all done. Now let's pop her out of her head wrap and we can look at styling her hair. Styling hair isn't currently the easiest thing to film because my camera is quite stationary where it is, so you'll just have to do with a top-down view, using a metal tool to heat up and try and use it as a big curler, just like that. This tool came from a sculpting pack, so it's got a long pointy bit and a nice thick handle, but it's also really useful for curling hair apparently. Now I've got a shape that I like, I'm going to sew it down. I quite often do this with hair because there aren't any tiny hair grips that are small enough to hold it all in place. But I'm just going to loop it with a couple of stitches and it'll hold it down. Now the front bit's all done, I can trim it down to a better length. It's looking a little bit straggly, and then I just need to decide whether I'm going to curl it under or over. And we went for curling it over, so I'm rolling it around itself, back on itself so it curls up, and when I put the cloak on it'll sit and curl around and make a hair look nice and full and poofy. Just using metal bits and pieces now to try and get those curls and to shape the hair a little bit better. So we've got our knife out and we're just going to squash it against the head so it's got more of a shape. With tiny amounts of super glue I'm going to stick these lashes on. It was a bit hold your breath and hope for the best because I'm not the daintiest of people and I'm quite clumsy, but we managed to get them to stick and stay and they're in the right place, so small victories. And with that final set of lashes put on, it's time for her photo shoot. Please make sure you go and check out everybody else's work. We have worked really hard on getting these and getting them done on time. It's been a bit of a slog and lots of fun in the meantime. So we are going to put all of the links to everybody's social media and their YouTube channels down below. Please check everybody out and I'll see you in the new year. Have a good one, everybody.